Happy Friday, everyone in our Facebook group. This is becoming one of my favorite things that we do for authentic intimacy for married women. Our live Q&As every Friday at 11:30 with Peggy and I. And I'm Karyn Seitz, and I'm the lead teacher for the relationship course at a new life center, where we teach women how to find their happiness within as a way to change their marriage and their whole lives. And today I'm here with Peggy. Peggy, do you want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Peggy, and I've been working with both men and women the past 10 years on building a relationship with themselves and each other. So we've got some wonderful questions from all of our Facebook people, and we hopefully have some wonderful answers for them.
I think we'll do okay. And just to set things up, and a quick reminder so that you can engage with the questions and the answers that we're providing in the framework of our group. Just a quick reminder of our 3 principles for our relationship course and the context that we're giving in the group. And the first principle is that you are responsible for your happiness, that no one and no thing can ever make you happy. That's an inside job that we can teach you how to do. And number 2, our second principle, is the only person that you can change is yourself. That you can't change your husband. You can't wait for your husband to change your experience for you. That if you want to see real transformation and real change, that's down to you and working on yourself. And our third principle is that authentic intimacy is about having a relationship with yourself and feeling good about who you are. And so today, in answering our questions, keep that in mind as the framework. And I think with that being said, we can dive in.
Well, and Karyn, I'd like to reiterate another thing that we continually say, and that is everything that we are talking about is based on you wanting your relationship to work and you being with a good man.
Thank you, Peggy. Those are really important reminders. And if that's something that you're not sure about and you want to figure that out, know that you can private message Peggy or I, and we're happy to help you uncover if this is the right support for you and where you're at in your marriage, and also helping you to see if you are with a good man. So if you're in doubt or in question about that, please reach out so that we can support you in that. So, all right, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So we're going to pick up with where we left off last week in our questions. And the first question that we're going to look at today is, you said in one of your videos, Karyn, that you didn't have any expectations on your anniversary. Why can't I expect my husband to show how much he cares for me on our anniversary? We are so busy in our lives. That is what makes the day so special. And I can certainly understand that. I used to put a lot of weight around birthdays and anniversaries and holidays. And my husband and I, for a while, we would one up each other to try to give each other the best experience. And what I found in that, not that we didn't have enjoyable times, but what I found in it is that when I put a lot of expectations on an anniversary or a birthday or something like that, it usually sets me up to be disappointed, because I'm wanting things to be way over the top. I want it to feel a certain way. I want it to look a certain way. And then it doesn't allow me to just accept the experience for what it is and enjoy that. And the other piece around it that's been really important for me is, we don't need a special day like an anniversary or Valentine's Day or a birthday to show our husbands, or for them to show us how much we care. That's something we can be doing every day in small ways. And when I'm showing up kind and showing up in my heart in my marriage on a consistent basis, then an anniversary is just another day to enjoy with myself and with my husband. It doesn't have to be this big blown up experience, because I already feel cared for, and I'm already showing that care to my husband on a consistent basis.
Well, and if you aren't showing your husband consistently and he's not showing you in these little ways, all of a sudden our anniversaries, our birthdays become a burden. They're going, oh my God, I don't know. Sometimes we expect these giant, wonderful love letters or, these very romantic, uh,
Like gestures.
yes. And if we haven't been feeding our relationship, it's like all of that feels fake and we don't believe it. And then we're angry at them for not making us feel special. But it's very, very important. David's very good about making me feel special every day. I am working on being better at that with him too. And it can just be, I mean, um, he'll go buy me a little container of ice cream, pecan ice cream once in a while because he knows I like that. And he doesn't even usually tell me he's bought it. He just lets me find it in the freezer. Those little things warm my heart and make me want to do something fun for our anniversary. And it doesn't even have to be on our anniversary. I had a birthday this Monday, and we decided to go out Friday night for sushi because that's one thing we do as a special night. So it's being spontaneous and doing what you actually feel like doing rather than trying to make it something.
So true. So true. I had a male client come in once, and I think it was like Valentine's Day or a birthday or something like that. And he was talking about how his partner had asked him to write him a love letter and or write her a love letter, and he had done it. He went out and got this card and he spent time with it, and yet she was upset that it wasn't how she wanted it. He didn't say the things she wanted him to say, and he felt so defeated in it because he really had given it all that he could give it. And when we have those expectations, we can't accept our partner for who they are and just appreciate them and how they show their love. So it really does, expectations, and you hear this all the time, they really set us up to be disappointed, and it can really set our partners up to fail.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Good job, Karyn.
Thank you. Our next question, this is a really good one. How do I open my heart when I have been hurt by my husband so many times? It doesn't seem right if he hurts me that I should be the one that has to do that. Won't I just set myself up to be hurt all over again? It seems like really bad advice.
Well, you posted something this week, Karyn, from one of your clients. We tend to think our relationship is one way and we don't take responsibility for all the things we're doing to push our husbands away and down. And hopefully, this Facebook group and us talking to everyone will help your awareness grow so you'll be more aware of what you're really doing in your part in the relationship. It is usually us hurting them first. And after being pushed down and closed down from, of course they're going to close down and shut us off too. So we have to look at ourselves first and see how we've been treating them. And it's really not about you opening up to them. It's about you opening up to yourself and seeing yourself. Once you do that, you see things differently and you're more willing to put yourself into your relationship if it is important to you. And hopefully your relationship is important to you. Sometimes we set our partners up to fail because we want them to fail so they don't get too successful and leave us. Or maybe we want out of the relationship, but we don't want to be the bad guy, so we'll set them up to fail so we have an excuse to leave them.
It also gives us an excuse to be upset and project our unhappiness out. It's that trick we play on ourselves of, we'll look at the things that they're doing or not doing, and that's the reason I'm unhappy. So if I'm constantly setting my partner up to fail, then that gives me the perfect excuse and the perfect place to place my unhappiness. And I think the other thing with hurt that's really important to look at, which it's taken me a long time to really accept, and it's something I talk about with my clients repeatedly, and those who have opened up to it constantly thank me for helping them to do this. But we have to normalize hurt, that's part of being in a relationship. Being hurt is a part of life. And is it fun? No, but we have to learn how to deal with it, especially as adults, so that we can keep our hearts open, because the only one that I'm hurting when I hold on to hurt is myself, because I'm the one staying stuck in those stories in my head. I'm the one holding on and keeping the scorecard and feeling miserable on the inside. So when I open my heart and I deal with the hurt that has happened in my marriage, I let myself off the hook. And then I can show up so much more as myself and so much more freely with my partner. And I think, Peggy, you wanted to reiterate what hurt actually is, that we've talked about before, but it bears a reminder.
Yeah. One of my clients actually wrote this, and it was in one of our other videos, but I'd like to read it again. The reality of my experience is that I have never been hurt. I certainly felt a lot of emotional pain, but looking underneath that, I had to admit, no, not hurt. My expectations were dashed. My ulterior motives were thwarted. My agendas and my childish wants were twisted and broken. In short, I didn't get my way. I had to ask myself, is that actually being hurt? Again, no, not hurt, just disappointed, victimy, frustrated, impatient, angry, and the like, but no, not actually hurt. This was a revelation to me. I've gone my entire life in some pretty tough and hard situations and not actually been hurt. Imagine that. All of that time I spent convincing me I was hurt, broken, destroyed, unloved, unwanted, and on and on. It wasn't true. None of it. I just didn't get my way. I created situation after situation, demanding my way while setting me up for emotional pain, but never once actually hurt. This is revolutionary. That puts a whole new spin on things. How can I ever be afraid of any relationship or of any exploration into my life? I can't. That's another back door closed because I now know I will not get hurt. That's such a wonderful and freeing example. You know, we think people are doing stuff to us, but it is us setting up these expectations that when they're not met, we think that we are hurt.
And it's also just knowing that sometimes in a relationship, we might say things or do things that are hurtful to each other. And this gives such a new perspective on it, so that we can actually slow down and realize what's going on. That maybe I'm just not getting my way, or it's not going how I wanted it to look. And I can slow down enough to respond to what's happening and not react and shut down and throw my walls up, which is so empowering. It's so nice in my marriage when, my husband and I maybe have a little fight, or we're not on the same page, or one of us says something that's not kind, to be able to work through that with my heart open and being soft and open to my experience. It's such a gift to me. So I want to take my walls down, and I just want to make sure I'm saying it right with the question, to open back up to my husband. That's a gift to me. I do it for myself, not for him, not for the marriage, but so that I can have the best experience of me that I can have. And when I've got my walls up and I'm hard and rigid and hiding from hurt, I'm not even experiencing myself. So I work on being open to being hurt for me, so that I can be the best that I can be.
Well, and I think sometimes we do not pay attention to how we say things.
Oh yeah.
So I am trying really hard before something comes out of my mouth to go, okay, Peggy, is this the best way to say it? Because you can turn two words around and change something that might sound hurtful, even if you don't mean it that way, to actually be supportive.
Mm-hmm.
And and we can expect that from our husbands too. They're not always going to say things the exact right way, but if our hearts are open, we can then ask them, can you please say that a little differently so I can hear you? And if you can start having that dialogue, and it is very different because we're so used to talking without thinking, so we have to stay slowed down and dropped into our heart so we are kind.
That's such a good point, Peggy, because it really can. If I say something and there's even a little edge behind it, or a little condescending, even in the smallest way, that affects how my partner's going to respond to me. So sometimes when I think I'm hurt, I got to slow down and say, oh, I threw the first punch with what I said. And one of the things that I've been practicing lately before something comes out of my mouth is, when in doubt, leave it out. Like if I'm not quite sure if what I'm saying is kind or supportive or adding value to my relationship with my husband, I'm practicing just keeping my mouth closed, because sometimes things just come out and can cause a storm. So that's a good rule that I'm following right now. So
Well, and it isn't that you can't ever speak. It's just
no.
really bringing it into your heart and seeing what you're about to say and making sure it is kind before it comes out of your mouth.
Yeah, it's like the other night, my husband's working really hard right now on his new job and in his training, and he's doing amazing. And I'm just seeing him step it up so much and be so committed to himself. And he had made a choice to not do something that he had committed to this week because he needed the time for himself. And internally, I was a little judgy about it and thought I knew best. And I was about to tell him, make sure you're taking care of yourself through all of this. And I stopped myself, because one of the things I'm practicing is really treating him like a man. And men like to fix their problems and figure it out. He doesn't want me being the babysitter and monitoring his every move. And it felt so good to catch that and just, nope, there's no need to say that. And yeah, it feels really good.
Well, we have to remember they are adults.
Yeah.
We've treated them like our kids so much, and then we wonder why we feel like we have another kid. It's like, let's start treating them like men so they can start acting like men.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they might not do things how we would do them, but it doesn't make it wrong. They're just doing it their way. And I think all of us as humans like the freedom to be able to take care of ourselves as adults and do things the way that we know how to do them and that feels right to us. So it's the same with our partners.
Well, and they do some things better than we do,
It's
which
true. It's true.
We don't want to admit that either.
Nope. No, because I know all the right ways to do things. All right. And that's a joke, by the way. If you haven't seen our video on control, that was my experience of myself being in control was I know how to do everything right.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm going to make sure everyone knows how to do it right. And I'm going to tell them. So, all right. Going on to our next question. You mentioned that women control the marriage. It makes me think that men are like puppy dogs, and that's not very attractive or appealing. Yuck. We were just talking about this a little bit.
Yes. Well, and you had a really good analogy, Karyn.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to share that, and then I'll do my perspective.
I think part of the answer to this question or this experience this person is having is really accepting the differences between men and women, and especially in a relationship with a good man. What I have discovered in myself is that I do have the power to set the tone for the relationship. And the analogy that Peggy wants me to share has been so helpful to me and makes so much sense. And I see it day in and day out in my marriage, or even in my relationships with like my dad or with my brother in a different, context. But the analogy is that our husbands are like the earth and we are the sun, and they revolve around us because they really, really just want us to be happy. And we keep saying that again and again. So they're revolving around us to make sure that we're happy. And so we have to take responsibility that we are the sun and that they follow our lead. And that's just a fundamental difference. And I can see that again and again and again. And when I show up happy and I'm taking care of myself, say that I get home and my husband maybe had a rough day and he's not in the best of moods, 9 times out of 10, if I'm connected to myself and in good space and feeling good and I'm sharing with him about my day and or more so just how I'm happy and life is good, it's like a switch. And then he relaxes and he's happy and follows my lead in that. And I see it all the time. It's amazing.
Well, and another thing to really remember, if our husbands come home not in good space, they may need a half an hour or so of quiet time just to get themselves in better space. We can't, I know when I've had a hard day, if I walk into the house and somebody's in a great mood and wanting me to be right there with them, it's like, oh, good Lord, I have to go to my room for a little bit. So try and be understanding of the space they're in too. And if we treat our men like men, we'll feel like women. And that's the best feeling in the world, They won't, they will, if we're women, they'll be men and they won't be puppy dogs. It's when we're trying to control them and we beat them down that they become beaten little puppies and afraid to make any decisions without us. And then we lose our attraction for them and we put it all on them, but yet we've caused them to feel that way. And we have to stop doing that.
And if they are constantly getting the message that they're wrong, then and that they can't make a choice or they don't know how to take care of themselves or they can't figure it out without our help. If that's the message that they're getting, and I've experienced this in my marriage, being in that place before I learned how to stop emasculating and show up kind, that's when they, like Peggy said, they've become really needy. My husband will constantly look to me. What should I do?
Yeah.
Because, if he made the choice or he did it, then I was just going to tell him he was wrong or treat him poorly or get upset. And the more that I focus on myself and having that relationship with myself and therein being able to fully accept my husband for who he is, the more that he steps up and makes choices, and it's not asking me, it's saying, you know, I'm going to do this for myself. And I respect him and I look up to him as a man. And the more that I soften and show up as myself as a woman, then he does feel safer to call me out, you know, because I know, and let's be honest, we've done plenty of calling out to them. So he feels safer to call me out, not in a mean way, but actually in a really kind way. The other night I said something and it came out really sharp, and he lovingly and calmly just looked at me and said, can you say that a different way? Can you ask me that in a different way? And, you know, of course, at first I'm like, you know, a little jolted, and but it did help me then to say it a different way. And then I was attracted to him, like, oh, he kind of stood up to me, and that's how that works. When Peggy was saying, when I show up as a woman, then I can start to accept who he is as a man, and it rekindles that attraction and connection.
Well, and please look at how your husbands or partners were when you met them. What qualities did they have? What qualities did you think you could change? You know, we have to be honest about who our men are too.
It's true.
And, you know, we can't expect them to be who we thought we could change them into.
No, it's completely unfair. And it's always a very humbling experience when I'm upset with my husband or something, or not accepting him for who he is. And when I slow down and say, okay, Karyn, when did you know this about him? And it's like, oh, shoot. From, you know, right when I met him, I knew this about him. So it's so absurd that we think we can change those things. Our husbands or men aren't meant to be perfect. We're not perfect. And so it's just seeing them and accepting them for who they are, and also taking responsibility for the choice that you made to be with them, knowing who they are. And yeah, that's a really important point. Thanks, Peggy.
Well, and why we chose to be with them. We need to own that too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we can just accept them for who they are. If we chose to be with them for some external value, you know, maybe they had a great job or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That
isn't who they are, ladies. We have to just let them be who they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so much easier.
Yes.
I mean, oh my gosh, how much mental space that used to take up in me thinking about all the things I wanted my husband to change. One of the ways I was a control freak is I would read all these like self-help articles or ways of living articles or how to be happy. And I would send my husband like at least 3 of those a day.
Oh my God.
I know. So you need to read this, because I was like, oh, this is great. But I didn't want to do it. I wanted him to do it. And oh my gosh, if that didn't shut him down. So really great things to think about. All right, let's on to the next question. So how do we handle it if he's the one shutting down, pushing us away, closed off, and doesn't want to communicate because it's girly?
Well, in one of our videos, we talked about don't expect your partner to be your girlfriend. Mm-hmm. So when I heard that because it's girly, a little flag went up, and I went, oh, somebody's trying to make their husband their girlfriend, and that's not what their role is. You know, if we're only venting to them and not having real conversation with them, oh, of course they're going to shut down. You know, and if we're venting to them and we're not getting the responses we want, we're probably shutting them out and making them wrong. So of course, again, they're going to shut down and feel like we're pushing them away. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in a situation that we find ourselves in that situation because of how we've been acting for possibly years or at least months, and then we just think it's them. We don't realize it's how we've been treating them that has gotten us and them in this situation. It isn't all of a sudden it happens, it's accumulative, and the shutting them down and blocking them and pushing them away continually day after day that actually shuts them down. So we have to really be honest and slow ourselves way down and see what we have been doing. Even my parents, I can tell they love each other, but they've had this interaction for 50 years and they don't know how to find themselves and each other back after all of that hurt and pain.
Yeah, it does accumulate. And the other piece in it that I hear a lot in the group, I hear a lot with my clients, I used to say the exact same thing, is, well, I am being nice and I am being honest and I am doing all these things. I'm doing all the right things. Well, are you being that? Or are you pretending and acting to be that because you're looking for some sort of result? You're looking for something from your husband. You have an agenda. Well, that's not being true to yourself and really showing up as yourself. It has to come from a genuine place inside of us to be kind and to be honest about what's going on for us, not being honest about, this is how you are making me feel, but really showing up. We use the term clean a lot, like just as me with no expectations. And it takes work to get to that place. And so that's a really important piece of it too. And Peggy, you want to say something?
Oh, well, I think we talked in a previous video about men have real feelings.
Yeah.
They have real feelings. They might not feel like we do, but they do feel, and they do feel hurt, and they do feel pain. And I know I've been guilty of this too. I never thought men had anything really, really important to say. And if those two things are going on, if you don't think your man can feel the pain you're inflicting, and if you don't think that they actually have very important things to say about a lot of things, they're gonna shut down. How can they not? So please look at those two things. They're very, very important.
They are. And the other last little piece I wanted to add to this, I was so excited last night when I really like to watch old episodes of Friends. It's always just been one of my favorite shows, and they're timeless, and I was watching an episode in season 6, episode 23. It's called The One with the Ring. And it's Rachel is dating Bruce Willis, and not Bruce Willis, but he plays a character. And he's more just kind of a, everything's fine, and not really opening up and sharing with her like a girlfriend would. And she's trying to just get him to share anything. And she finally gets him to open up, and he starts crying and wallowing, and like she has to hold him, and she's immediately turned off by him. And that is so true of us. We think we want our men to open up and share all their deepest, darkest fears and worries and doubts that they have. But oftentimes, if we get them to do that and we pull those things out of them, then we see them as weak or incapable, and then we're not attracted to them. So it's really learning to respect men for who they are. And my husband will share things with me, but generally after he's worked through them and he's sharing about what he's learned or how proud he is of himself. If I know he's working through something that's sensitive to him, I just let him know, hey, I'm here to support you. Let me know if I can do anything. But I used to real bad, but now I don't try to pull that out of him of what's going on, because that's not how he works as a man, and I usually just use that as the baseball bat against him.
Well, I was just gonna, I was just gonna say, and when they actually are vulnerable with us and share some of this stuff, do not throw that back in their face.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
time after time of that, they lose all trust for us. And we wouldn't like it either. I do not appreciate having something thrown back at me that I've shared that has been vulnerable for me. So please be aware of that.
Yeah, that's really true. I don't like that either. All right, I think we have time for one more question,
Okay.
Peggy.
All right.
And this one's for you.
Oh, okay.
So, hi, Peggy Lynn. You spoke about letting our husbands drink out whenever they want and being
Oh.
angry about it pushes them to do it more. How do I stop myself from feeling that I am being taken advantage of, since on such days I have to watch the kid 24/7 without help or relief, and I don't have any such social outings?
Well, first, I would never say that they should be able to overdrink whenever they want. That's not what this is about. And a good man may need to let off steam occasionally, but it wouldn't be an excessive thing. It's just when they are in that space, we should not come at them and belittle them for being there. And second, I would like to say we all need time for ourselves, but we should use this time to find things that actually make us happy or make us grow. You know, don't just go get drunk. Do something supportive. Do things that will slow you down so you get in touch with your softness. And I can only feel taken advantage of if I'm not supporting myself. And I know sometimes I was a single mom for most of my daughter's lives, so I didn't have a partner to share that with, that responsibility with a lot of the time. But look at why you chose to have your children and do work on that so you don't resent them or your partner. Marriage should also have structure in place to allow both parties to have this time for themselves. I know a lot of women think that if their men have a night out, they must be chasing women or something. And usually they're just so relieved not to be with us and have male companionship. The last thing they want to do is bring other women into that environment, you know? So if you feel good about yourself, you're going to trust your partner more and do the things you can to feel good about yourself so you don't resent spending time with your children. That's really important. You don't want your kids feeling unwanted either.
And
it's being an adult.
it is, and we have to do the things we don't want to do when we need to do them sometimes to get to the fun parts. And another piece, just kind of tying this into one of our principles, of you're the only one that you can change and you need to be responsible for your happiness, that sometimes you have to rock the boat, or a lot of times we have to rock the boat in our relationships to get the change that we want to see. And I know a lot of times this comes up with my clients all the time of, well, he doesn't want me going out, or he gets upset when I do. Well, maybe that's coming from a place of how you may be treating him and how he feels shut down and pushed out in the relationship. So when you do that work to get responsible for your happiness and rebuild that connection with yourself, and he's experiencing those changes too, he's going to tell you, keep doing what you're doing. You need a night out with yourself, go, because he's enjoying the benefits of you being happy. And you might have to rock the boat for a little bit to say, I need this time for myself. And if he gets upset, that's the risk you have to be willing to take to make sure that you're doing what you need to support yourself, so you have the energy for the relationship. And I know for myself, for a long time, I was so scared to have tough conversations or bring something up that I needed to give myself to my husband, because I didn't know how he was going to react. And we can't use that as an excuse to hide and not do what we need to do for ourselves. I got to be willing to face conflict. And man, do I and have I struggled with conflict and wanting to avoid it. But slowly I'm learning that conflict is actually constructive and can lead us to resolution of our problems and lead to that change, even if it's not fun at first. That's normal and to be expected.
And we're not very good at it at first either. It's like, oh crap.
Not at all.
But if I speak up, I'm supporting myself and telling myself I'm important enough to fight for. And fight for sounds harsh. That's not really what I mean, but it's showing myself I am important enough to do the things that support me and will make me happy. And it's only then that I can I don't make my partner happy, but I can allow him to be happy.
Yeah, it's very true. It all begins with us. And we have one more question that we didn't get to, so I'll add it to the list for our questions next time, which we have a Q&A next Friday too, I believe, at the same time.
I thought there was one Friday we didn't, Karyn.
I think it's 2 weeks from now, but we'll definitely double check and make sure.
Yep.
So yeah,
it is next Friday.
Okay, so we do have another Q&A next Friday. We have one more question on our list for today that we didn't get to. So if you have more questions, feel free to post them and I will write them down or send me a private message or Peggy a private message and we will get to those questions. And if you're watching these videos and our message is speaking to you and you're ready to do that work to finally be happy in your life and to finally really, truly, genuinely know who you are, and you want to make that transformation in your marriage and in your whole life, we have an amazing, amazing relationship program that will teach you a step-by-step process to learn how to be happy and do that for yourself for the rest of your life. And I promise you will see changes in your marriage that you never thought possible. And if you're ready to take that dive and you're ready to commit to yourself and walk that path and walk that journey, then Peggy and I are here waiting to have a conversation with you to see if our program is a good fit. And we would love to have that talk. So private message us if you'd like to set up a free call. And I promise you'll get so much clarity out of that call, even if the program doesn't end up being a good fit for you. So,
well, and you can't just want it. You have to be willing to do the work to get it. That's so important.
Really, really important. So thank you so much, Peggy. I really love doing these Q&As. So thank you.
Everyone have a wonderful weekend.
Yep. We'll see you all next week in a live video. So bye.
Goodbye.